What if the most celebrated virtue of your soul, your empathy, is not a gift but a ghost? A spectre born from a single, forgotten moment when your survival depended on abandoning yourself. This is not the story of a healer's power. It is the story of a haunting, and the haunted house is you. You have lived this haunting for so long. You have mistaken it for life itself. You are known as the sensitive one, the compassionate heart, the person who feels everything so deeply. But let us be honest in this sacred space, away from the eyes of the world that praises your self-annihilation. What does it truly feel like? It feels like standing in an open field during a storm of nails. It feels like waking up with a sorrow that does not belong to you, a residue of a conversation from the day before. It feels like a profound, bone-deep exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure, because it is not your body that is tired, but your soul, weary from carrying the psychic weight of others. This is the truth of the permeable self. Your psyche is not a fortress, not even a home. It is a ruin, a beautiful, tragic ruin with no doors and no windows, where the winds of the world blow through without impediment. The spirits that haunt this place are not the dead. They are the unlived emotions of the living, the unspoken rage of a colleague, the secret grief of a friend, the gnawing anxiety of a partner. They all drift into you. They see the open archways of your soul and mistake it for an invitation. They are not malicious. They are simply energies seeking a container, and you have been taught your entire life that your primary function is to be that container. You absorb these phantoms, and inside you they fester. You mistake their whispers for your own thoughts, their sadness for your own depression. You are a curator of a museum of second-hand pain, and you have forgotten which artifacts, if any, were ever truly yours. This is the prison of permeability, a state of being so porous that the boundary between you and not you dissolves into a perpetual fog. You are a house so full of other people's ghosts that there is no room left for the owner. So the fundamental question arises, a question that holds the key to your very liberation. Why? Why is the house open? Why were the locks never forged, the doors never hung? The answer is not one of weakness, but of a forgotten sacrifice. A primordial bargain made in the silent chambers of childhood. Deep within the psyche, there exists what Jung called the function of order, of structure, of internal principle. It is the inner architect, the part of the soul responsible for drawing blueprints, for understanding foundations, for saying, this pillar goes here, this wall stands here, this is the threshold. What is outside stays outside, and what is inside is sacred. This function, this psychic builder, is the master of logic, not the cold, sterile logic of the machine, but the sovereign logic of the self. Its most fundamental tool, its simplest and most powerful utterance, is the word no. For you, this architect was banished. Early on, you learned a devastating equation. Safety equals self-erasure. Love equals the complete surrender of your boundaries. The moment you tried to draw a line, to build a wall, to speak the architect's sacred word of no, the reaction from your world was swift and terrible. It was met with disapproval, with anger, with the terrifying threat of abandonment. The child, in its profound and desperate need for connection, made a choice. It was an act of psychic survival. It fired the architect, it smashed the blueprints, and it made a vow to never, ever again build a wall. It chose to become a ruin, because a ruin is open, and being open felt, at the time, like the only way to be loved. This was the bargain struck by the inner trickster, a trade of sovereignty for the illusion of safety. And so, the word no became a blasphemy. It became lodged in your throat, a shard of glass you could not swallow and could not speak. To even think it brought forth the guardian that was installed in the architect's place, a phantom of guilt, a spectre of shame that whispers, you are selfish, you are unkind, you are unlovable if you do not offer every part of yourself to everyone who asks. This is why you feel the pain of others so intensely, because there is no inner structure to differentiate their reality from your own. You are living out the terms of an ancient unconscious contract, a contract that says you must be a haunted house to be worthy of existing. But the ghosts do not love you. They do not care for the house they inhabit. They are transient and chaotic, and in their endless occupation, They are slowly eroding the very foundations of your being. The journey out of this prison is not about learning to exorcise the ghosts. That is a fool's errand. There will always be more. The true journey is about learning for the first time how to build. It is about finding the courage to rehire your banished architect, to unearth the dusty blueprints of your authentic self, and to begin the slow, sacred work of construction. It begins with the forging of a single key, a key that can lock a single door. For you are not a vessel for the world's pain. You are a world unto yourself, waiting to be claimed. The ghosts will not leave until the master of the house returns. Comment "I forge my key" if you are ready to seal the frontiers of your soul, and subscribe to learn the art of psychic architecture. You have chosen to forge the key. A courageous decision, but a key is useless without an understanding of the lock it is meant to turn. To build your sacred house, you must first understand the ground upon which it will be built. This is not yet the time for construction, it is the time for excavation. We must become archaeologists of the self, descending into the ruins of the past, not to live there, but to uncover the foundational blueprint of your pain. This is a journey into memory, into the strata of your earliest experiences, where the original wound lies buried like a fallen kingdom. Arm yourself with curiosity, for we are not digging for treasure, but for truth, and the truth, once unearthed, is the most valuable artifact of all. Our dig site is the most potent and powerful force in the human psyche, the parental complex. Do not mistake this for a simple memory of your mother or father. The complex is far more insidious. It is the living, breathing ghost of their authority, a psychic architecture of your first world that you internalized and now carry within you. It is a set of invisible laws, a silent constitution written in the language of conditional love. This is the governor of your inner landscape, the warden of your emotional prison. It was installed not through a single act of cruelty, but through 1,000 subtle transactions. It was in the praise you received for being the easy child, the quiet one. It was in the subtle withdrawal of affection, when you dared to have a need that was inconvenient. It was in the atmosphere of the home, where you learned that the emotional equilibrium of the adults was your direct responsibility. You, the child in your infinite psychic sensitivity, became a master cartographer of your parents' inner worlds. You knew their emotional weather patterns better than your own, and to navigate that often treacherous climate, you made a brilliant and tragic adaptation. You dismantled your own nascent structures, your desires, your boundaries, your sacred no, because they were obstacles. You made yourself permeable, formless, a perfect mirror for their needs, because in that mirroring, you found a precarious form of safety. The parental complex, therefore, is not a memory of what they did to you. It is the system you created to survive them. You are not haunted by your parents. You are haunted by the brilliant, outdated survival strategy of the child you once were. To excavate this is to face the ghost in your own machine, to see the invisible laws that still dictate your reactions, and to realize you are bowing to a throne that has long been empty. As we dig deeper, beneath the foundations of this internalized authority, we find a cursed artifact. It is the source of the haunting, the very object that gives the ghosts their power. It is a contract, bound in the invisible ink of childhood fear. This is the trickster's bargain. The trickster, that cunning, immoral survivalist archetype within your own psyche, saw the impossible situation the child was in, and it offered a deal. The terms were brutally simple. "Surrender your sovereignty," it whispered, "and I will grant you safety. Give me your sword, the power of no, the right to your own space, the fire of your authentic anger, and I will weave for you a cloak of agreeableness. In this cloak you will be invisible to threat. You will be compliant. You will be useful. You will be praised. You will never be attacked, but you will also never be truly seen. You will survive, but you will never be whole." In the face of potential annihilation or abandonment, the child signed this contract with its entire being. Every yes when you meant no, every smile to mask your discomfort, every time you absorbed another's crisis to keep the peace, you were making a payment on this ancient debt. This contract is why your life is populated by those who drain you. Your psyche, operating on the logic of this bargain, sends out a signal. It broadcasts that you are a territory without a ruler, a kingdom willing to trade its riches for a kind word. And those whose own inner landscape is one of conquest are drawn to that signal like moths to a flame. The narcissist, the emotional vampire, the endless taker, they are not your misfortune. They are your contractual partners. They arrive to play their role in the drama you initiated long ago, the drama of a surrendered throne. They are the brutal gift that shows you the terms of your own self-imprisonment. To break the cycle is not to fight them. It is to find the original contract, deep within you, and to finally, terrifyingly declare it null and void. But how do you read the map to this buried kingdom? How do you decode a contract written in a forgotten language? You learn to listen to the dialect of your own soul, which speaks not in words, but in symbols. The unconscious is constantly sending you dispatches from the dig site. Your body is the primary scroll. That chronic tightness in your shoulders is the weight of the world you were never meant to carry. That lump in your throat is the graveyard of 1,000 unspoken no's. Your exhaustion is not a medical condition. It is a spiritual one. The profound fatigue of policing your own authenticity. The body keeps the score, and its pains are the hieroglyphs that tell the story of your exiled self. Then there are your dreams, the nightly theater of the soul. The unconscious does not mince words here. It will show you the state of your inner architecture with stark, symbolic clarity. Do you dream of living in a house with no doors where strangers wander in and out at will? That is a blueprint of your psychic reality. Do you dream of being chased, of needing to scream for help but finding no voice? That is the sound of your banished power, silenced by the old contract. These are not random neural firings. They are diagnostic reports from the banished architect, showing you the structural weaknesses, pleading with you to begin the work of renovation. And finally, the world itself becomes your mirror through synchronicity. As you begin this archaeological dig, you will notice patterns. The same type of person, the same impossible situation will appear in your life again and again. These are not curses. They are echoes, showing you where on the map you need to dig next. The universe is not punishing you. It is patiently, persistently pointing to the lock, waiting for you to use the key you have just begun to forge. The excavation is complete. You have descended into the ruins of your past and returned not with gold, but with something far more valuable, the leaden tablet of your original wound, the cursed contract of your self-abandonment. Do not despair at its weight. This raw, heavy truth is the prima materia, the essential substance for the great work that lies ahead. We now leave the archaeological site and enter the laboratory of the soul. For the next stage of this journey is not one of discovery, but of transformation. We are to become alchemists. The singular, sacred goal is to transmute this lead of perpetual servitude into the pure, incorruptible gold of psychological sovereignty. This is the alchemy of the boundary, and it begins, as all great works do, in fire and darkness. The first stage is known as the nigredo, the blackening. It is the putrefaction, the descent into the chaotic, lightless realm where old forms dissolve. This process is initiated by a single terrifying act, the conscious, deliberate utterance of your first authentic no. This will not be a heroic proclamation on a mountaintop. It will be small, quiet, and it will feel like the greatest betrayal you have ever committed. It may be a declined invitation. It may be a refusal to absorb another's panic. It may be the simple, revolutionary statement, "I cannot carry that for you." The moment this word leaves your lips, the alchemical retort is sealed and the fire is lit. The external reaction may be one of surprise or anger, but that is merely a distracting echo. The true cataclysm is internal. Instantly you are plunged into the nigredo. A psychic fever takes hold as the parental complex, the silent warden within you, unleashes its full fury. You are flooded with a tidal wave of guilt so profound it feels like a cosmic law. The venom of self-recrimination courses through you, whispering that you are cruel, unloving, fundamentally broken. The trickster's bargain shrieks its terms in your ear. You are violating the contract, you are forfeiting your safety. This is the night of the soul, where you must face the phantom guardians you yourself created. It feels like death because, in a way, it is. It is the agonizing death of the persona, the good and compliant mask you have worn for a lifetime. To survive the nigredo is to sit in the unbearable heat of this self-condemnation without flinching, to let the old identity burn away until nothing remains but a blackened, formless ash. You must endure this darkness, trusting that it is not an end, but the terrifyingly necessary prelude to creation. From this black ash emerges the central axiom of the alchemical process: solve et coagula. Dissolve and coagulate. First, you must dissolve everything that is not truly you. This is a deliberate, conscious unraveling. You must dissolve your loyalty to the ghosts of the past, acknowledging that the survival strategy of the helpless child is now the poison of the capable adult. You must dissolve the identity of the savior, the peacemaker, the endless wellspring for others, recognizing it as a gilded cage. This is an act of profound psychological secession. You are declaring your soul an independent state, no longer a colony of your history or the expectations of others. It is a period of radical disorientation. As these old structures dissolve, you will feel lost, identityless. You are floating in the primal soup of pure potentiality, and this void is both terrifying and exquisitely liberating. Then, from this dissolved state, the second movement begins: coagula. You begin to coagulate, to crystallize a new form around a new center. And what is the agent that causes this crystallization? It is the boundary itself. Every time you hold fast to a no, despite the internal storm of the negredo, you are performing an act of psychic coagulation. You are taking the fluid, permeable energy of your being and giving it a definitive shape. You are not building a wall out of anger or fear. You are precipitating a structure out of self-respect. With each limit you set, a psychic bone hardens. With each moment you choose your own well-being over the comfort of another, a spiritual muscle develops. You begin to feel a new sensation, an internal solidity, a center of gravity that is located firmly within your own being, not scattered among the people you are trying to please. You are no longer a vapor but a crystal. You are no longer a haunted house, but the foundation stone of a sacred temple. This painstaking process of dissolving and coagulating eventually yields the legendary prize of the alchemists, the philosopher's stone. For the empath, this stone is not the power to turn metal to gold, but the ability to transmute raw, unconscious reactivity into conscious, discerning compassion. This is the emergence from the darkness. Your empathy does not vanish. To believe so is the final trick of the ego, which fears this process. Instead, your empathy is reborn. It is transformed from a devastating weakness into a formidable power. Before you were a sponge in a murky flood, indiscriminately soaking up every pollutant. Now you become a deep, clear well. You recognize the thirst of others, you can witness their pain with profound love, but you are no longer obligated to let them poison your waters. You control the bucket. You can offer a life-giving drink to those who are truly thirsty, but your sacred depths are your own, inviolable. This is the gold of the individuated soul, the ability to be profoundly connected to humanity without being consumed by it. It is the power to love the world from a place of fullness, not from a place of lack. It is the final, beautiful synthesis where your sensitivity is no longer your wound, but the very source of your impenetrable strength. You have survived the alchemical furnace, the dissolution of the old self, and have begun to crystallize a new reality from the ashes. You have held the lead of your suffering and felt its transformation into the gold of conscious choice. Now, before we unveil the final form of this new existence and lay the capstone on your inner temple, ensure you are subscribed, for the architectural blueprints of the sovereign soul are about to be revealed. The journey from a haunted ruin to a sacred sanctuary is nearing its awe-inspiring completion. We arrive at the final revolutionary stage of this grand work, the understanding of the boundary not as an act of division, but as an act of creation. Your no, which once felt like a destructive betrayal, is now revealed to be the most potent creative force you possess. It is a sacred incantation. Think of the great cosmic myths of creation. They almost always begin with an act of separation, light from darkness, land from sea. Before something new can be built, a space must be cleared. This is the ultimate function of your reclaimed no. It is not a weapon of rejection, it is an architect's tool for clearing the ground. Every time you say no to a demand that violates your integrity, no to an energy that seeks to drain you, no to the ghostly echoes of your old programming, You are not pushing the world away. You are creating a sanctified emptiness within yourself. This is the creation of psychic space. Before, every corner of your inner world was occupied by the needs, emotions, and projections of others. There was no room for you. Your authentic self was a refugee in its own land, crowded out by relentless invaders. The practice of setting boundaries is the slow, deliberate reclamation of this inner territory. You are drawing a circle in the sand and declaring, "This space is mine. This is holy ground." And within this newly consecrated void, a miracle happens. The things that are truly you, your suppressed creativity, your dormant wisdom, your unexpressed joy, your authentic voice, begin to stir. They were never gone. They were simply suffocated. Now, in the quiet, protected space you have created for them, they can finally breathe. They begin to emerge from the shadows, not as frightened ghosts, but as the rightful inhabitants of your soul. Your no to the outer world becomes a profound yes to the inner one. It is the magic word that turns a crowded, noisy marketplace into a silent, sacred garden where your own soul can finally begin to blossom. This brings us to the culmination of your labor, the transformation of the haunted house into the temenos. This is a Greek word of profound Jungian significance. It means a sacred enclosure, a protected space cut off from the profane world where divine work can take place. Your psyche, fortified by conscious boundaries and illuminated by self-knowledge, becomes this temenos. The haphazard ruin is now a temple, and you are its high priest or priestess. This temple has walls not to imprison you, but to protect the sacred flame of your consciousness. It has a gate, and you alone hold the key. You are now the master of who and what is allowed to enter your energetic field. The permeability that once was your curse is now a conscious choice. You can choose to open the gate, to practice a new form of empathy, a sacred hospitality. This is the empathy of the sovereign. You can invite someone into the courtyard of your temple, listen to their story with immense compassion, offer them sanctuary and wisdom, all without allowing them to desecrate the inner sanctum. You can feel with them profoundly and authentically without feeling as them. The distinction is everything. You are no longer a victim of energetic contagion. You are a host who can decide the terms of engagement. This newfound structure changes everything. Your presence becomes a powerful mirror. Those who thrive on chaos, manipulation, and porous boundaries will find your new solidity intolerable. The clear, resonant frequency of your sovereign self will be jarring to their dissonant energies. They will accuse you of being cold, selfish, changed, and you will silently thank them for confirming your success. They will retreat, not because you have pushed them away, but because there is no longer anything for them to consume. Conversely, those who are themselves authentic, who respect sovereignty and seek genuine connection, will be drawn to the light emanating from your temple. Your reality reorganizes itself around your inner integrity. And so we arrive at the final philosophical truth. The ultimate warning hidden within the empath's plight was never about the danger of feeling. It was about the catastrophic danger of feeling without a container. A soul without structure is a sea without a shoreline, a force of immense potential that dissipates into nothingness. The great journey of individuation for the permeable self is not to become less sensitive, but to become a worthy vessel for that sensitivity. It is to build a cosmos within that can hold the chaos without. The goal was never to shut the world out, but to build an inner world so strong, so beautiful, and so sacred that it can meet the outer world on its own terms. The final form is the architect of the sacred space. You are no longer the victim of your history, but the master of your own inner geography. Your compassion is no longer a wound, but a laser, capable of precise, intentional healing, first for yourself, and then as a gift for others. The child who was never allowed to say no has finally died, and from its ashes has risen a being who understands that no is the foundation of every meaningful yes. The true power was never in absorbing the pain of the world, but in realizing it was never your burden to carry. It was in the claiming of your own space, the building of your own sanctuary, and the liberation that comes from finally, unequivocally returning home to yourself.